My first question to you, Luke, is that uh, do you work with cancer survivors? Do you typically, and if you do you typically start working with them when they were cancer patients? Or do you start working with them after they have got treated and are now designated cancer survivors?
We work with all kinds of cancer patients. We work with patients who, the moment they're diagnosed, they come straight to us. Like they've got their diagnosis in hand and they've already called up our team for an appointment. We have some patients who come to us while their treatment is going on because of the side effects, and then they learn that they need to manage the side effects with lifestyle. Some people come after the treatment. Some people come when they're already cancer survivors, but they're scared of getting cancer again. So, and we have many who are terminally ill. They're on palliative care, but they don't want to give up and they believe that there's something beyond medicine that can be done. So we have all kinds of cancer patients who come to us, and primarily our business is 95% cancer patients. That's how it is.
I mean, awesome. This is then you're just the right person that I'm speaking with, Luke. Luke, in your observation, in your experience, where do you think the survivors get that strength and their inspiration to want to live?
Right. So that's a great question. See, it's different for everyone. We've seen hundreds and hundreds of survivors over the last couple of years. And we've also been trying to understand what is this commonality. People say it's the warrior attitude. Some people say it's positivity. You can't say yes or no to any one of them. Finally, it's what worked for that particular person. But the one commonality, because we're constantly studying this, we're trying to study these trends because then that's how we inspire patients who have given up, or who are planning to give up not to. I mean, you can always make false promises. Like in the world, there are a lot of frauds that happen. People promise, oils and strange medications and certain vaccines and certain whatever that can, help them. That's a fraud. But hope is a beautiful and very powerful drug. So the commonality that we've seen between all of these people is purpose. If they have no purpose, okay, that's it. It's whether someone has cancer or not. Half the people living around us are dead. They're called dead alive. They're alive, but they're dead. They have no purpose in life. So they become, victims of drugs and victims of over binging alcohol and social media. They have no purpose. So they're just numbing themselves. They're numbing that pain in their life all the time through all of these things. So the one commonality we saw was purpose. But I'll also talk about something else, because we've also seen some patients who had no purpose and they were like, okay, if I die, I die, but they still lived. They still lived. And that's the other thing, the word that I want to talk about, which is miracles. It's not up to us when we die or to decide we want to die. Okay, whether it's God, spirituality, the universe, it doesn't matter. Miracles are real. We've seen it happen in patients where, everyone says, be positive, do this, have a water. They haven't, they've succumbed. Like beautifully, like, okay, it's my time to go, I'll go. I've lived a good life, I've not lived a good life, I'll go. But they live. Everything changes. You can't understand. The doctors can't understand, how they've gotten better, because there are also miracles. A lot of people today think that life and death is in their control to most of the, there are a lot of people out there trying to understand death, study death, all of that. And my question is, while you can, the point is you'll never know the right answer. And number two, it's not for us. It's not for us to decide. Death teaches us to live a great life, find our purpose, live abundantly, because it can be taken away in any form. Why just cancer? You can get hit by a truck tomorrow. So the commonality we saw between patients was purpose. That purpose could be anything. I still remember 1 week ago, I had a young girl, 32 years old, with 2 children. And I asked her, how's your emotional health? How are you feeling about this and stuff like that? Let's make this work. She's saying, I don't have a choice. I have 2 kids. She just said it. I don't have a choice. She blocked out all doubt, which is also, again, the third thing, which is the power of the human mind. If the human mind decides, and then there's destiny. If you're destined to die, no matter how powerful your mind is and how much you use your subconscious mind and how much you pray, you will die. If it's destined for you, that's going to happen. But we don't understand destiny. So there's no point going into it and talking about it and everyone building philosophical talks around it, because it's of no help to anyone. Destiny teaches us live the next moment and this moment abundantly, because we don't know what's destined for us. So that's another thing that we've seen in patients. So I remember speaking to a young lady. I think she was 29 in Dubai recently, and she had to actually sit in her car and take the call after she got diagnosed with cancer. And I asked, how do you feel about this? She was so calm, and we're very careful of calm people, because a lot of people who have low anger scores or always appear to be calm inside, you don't know what's happening in them, how much they've suppressed. So I have to dive deeper into questions to make sure that they're not suppressing any emotions. And she was like, Luke, I've gone through a lot in life, and I've always been helped by my God, Allah. I've got cancer now. It's a problem in a different context. He's going to help me through. So another thing, faith. If people have faith, no matter in what, we're not to judge anyone. Today, you have a whole population of woke people judging whether religion exists, whether God exists, whether this is right. Who cares? It's where you put your faith. Whether it's a placebo or not, if it's working for you, it's working for you. It's as simple as that. So that's another one, faith. The other thing that we see in a lot of our survivors are when they find hope, they see other people who have survived. They see other people who have made the impossible possible. So that hope also becomes a very, very powerful drug for them to get through this. So these are some of the things that we see in all of our patients. That's why we always encourage them. And a lot of our survivors, and we use stories of our survivors as well, because I think every survivor has come back saying that, look, in a way, don't think we're crazy, but it's a good thing I went through this journey, because by going through cancer, I've learned so many things that I need to change in my life, which I would never have changed if I had not gotten such a bad wake-up call. So we always wish that the wake-up call is not going to be that bad, but people take lessons from this. Some people have given up their careers and followed their passions of travel and becoming yoga teachers, or becoming life coaches, or writing books, or being an artist, the things that they always wanted to do. And after 9 years, handling patients, half my life being between life and death, because I get to speak to these patients. A lot of my life is spent talking to them. I've realized one thing: sometimes if we're meant to do something in a lifetime and we don't do it because of several reasons, okay, life finds a way to make us do it in some way or the other. So if we listen, it may not be too harsh. If we don't listen, sometimes it's the harsh way. A lot of these cancer survivors have become people today who volunteer at hospitals, give other patients hope, and they love what they do, because it's such a selfless service. So there are so many ways, but the commonality is purpose. Anyone who loses purpose is dead, is literally dead. And then there are people who lack information, and then they become survivors. Like, they don't think, they think like mostly the Western way. I don't have anything against the Western way, but it's still very, very highly symptomatic. Oh, this cancer, 5% chance of living, that's it. They give you a verdict. They give you a death sentence. Okay, I understand statistics exist for particular reasons, but you can't put that verdict on a patient. I understand in the US, the laws are such: if you've not told the patient and the patient dies, the family can sue you because they were not prepared. It's different. It's very inhuman. But I've also had a patient who was in remission for 4 years, and then she goes to her doctor with her new report, and the doctor says, oh, there are lesions, and if this is cancerous, you have only a month to live. Okay, and she died in exactly a month. The point is, the doctor doesn't have to say these things, because they're not God, number one. No one can accurately tell. Now, of course, if someone's going through organ failure, you can predict the patient has 24 hours, the patient has 48 hours. You can predict it because the organ shutdown is happening. But just based on statistics, it's very inhuman of the medical world to throw a statistic. They can say that, hey, there's a way of doing it. Statistics show us that the chances look grim, but these are the options. You give bad news and you give hope. Who are we not to give hope? If we think we're God and we know everything, then we don't give hope. So you see, all these things play a huge role. So we've had patients who have come to us who have given up. And then we just show them that this is all you've been told. Now let us tell you what else exists. And then break it down through sharing, knowledge, coaching, and they become our survivors. They become our warriors, which is the change in mentality, because they know there's something beyond. Because a lot of people, I'm not saying don't trust your doctors, but a lot of people think doctors are God. No one's God. No one is God. Your doctor's not God. Get him off the pedestal. Okay, because if you put him on that pedestal, you're blinding yourself to everything else that can potentially exist. Your doctor's not going to tell you to sleep better. But we know sleep deprivation is required for a patient to get better today with cancer and to prevent a reoccurrence. All these things are not told. So, like I put up a post today on Instagram talking about the biggest failure in relationships, love, mental health, physical health, disease, are people thinking that what they don't know is not worth knowing. So you just start thinking that, oh, this is all I know, it's right. You're not open to so much that no one in her life lifetime will ever be able to learn. And that's the biggest breakdown in our medical system today. But survivors decide to see beyond this. They're like, no, there has to be something else because there are people who are surviving. The sad part is the cases that survive the most deadly cancers are written off in medical journals as a one-off case. It's not given its due research to even see because for several reasons, I mean, we don't have to talk about that, but several reasons for business, for lack of, like you always ask yourself, why is science only studying things which involve money and profit? Why isn't any rich person putting in money to study the lives of survivors and do scientific research and come up with a hypothesis like many doctors have come up with, psychologists have come up, which are medically recorded today, that emotional suppression can cause cancer, period. Now, this should be all over the news. So people use that fear to say that, hey, let me do something about this, right? But it isn't. The system's broken. So this is the difference between what goes on in the minds of survivors and, between people who also fail. And like I said, there's destiny. I'm not here to give anyone false hope. You still got to try. But just because you don't know when you're going to die, that doesn't mean we don't live our days abundantly, right? So that's how it is.
No, you very beautifully brought out that the doctors sometimes just give a verdict based on the statistics, and could be because they're meeting many such patients every day. For them, it's just a number. But who do you think is the best person to break the news of the diagnosis of the disease? Is it the doctor? Is it the family? Is it someone else?
It can be anyone, but there's a way of doing it.
Right.
Even if the doctor is very busy, it doesn't take you if you have 2 minutes to give a verdict, there is a way you can give a verdict in 2 minutes. But a lot of the verdicts are given out of ego. Like, I know it all. Oh, you have 5 days left. You have 10 days left. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's not a matter of time. Everyone's busy. It's how you say it. And that's compassion. It lacks compassion. I know doctors. There are doctors in Bombay we work with. There's a beautiful, beautiful oncologist, one of many I know, who will take 45 minutes with a patient, even though he doesn't have the time, if he has to break a verdict and help the family through and stuff like that. Now, if he can do it, why can't other doctors do it? It's an excuse because a lot of ego and pride comes into this field. And it's not just doctors. It's with most health professionals. There are health professionals who have compassion, and there are those who have ego. And that's the biggest difference because you're handling a human emotion. Number one, you're not God to say what's going to happen. And even if you're saying a statistic, there's a simple way of saying it. Let's say I have a 4th stage brain tumor patient, and as per statistics, he has 4 weeks left to live. Statistics show us with your kind of cancer and the treatments available, you have about 4 weeks. Usually the lifespan is 4 weeks, but this is what we can do. And these are the little things that we shouldn't give up. Let's try our best. Now that's less than 2 minutes. Why can't it be done? Why can't it be done? So it's a will issue. It's an ego issue, but there's a huge difference. There are great doctors in the world, and there are poor doctors in the world, like great nutritionists, poor nutritionists. All of it exists, the yin and yang. But the point is, it's not impossible to be compassionate. It's not impossible to give hope to a patient. A lot of doctors think that hope is all false. There's a difference between false hope and hope. False hope is if you know the patient's going to die and you're coming up with some toxic positivity. Okay? Even then, you use hope. I use hope with my patients because I have nothing to sell them. I tell them, listen, read these stories. These are stories documented. They're not my patients. They're patients from different doctors around. They've survived a cancer worse than you. That is the hope I want you to take away. Now, what happens? We don't know. I don't know. You don't know. But once they get that glimmer of hope that someone out there has done it, everything changes. So it's very important that we re-add compassion into the way we give verdicts and prognosis and all of that stuff. Yeah.
So Luke, you mentioned that you've met cancer patients who appear to be very calm, but inside of them they have a turmoil going on, and you've tried to question them and try to bring out an understanding of what is going on inside the mind of a cancer patient. So what do you think most cancer patients are struggling with inside of them, despite what we see from outside is their calmness?
So they're called low anger scores. A lot of people, they like to project calmness, like they can never be upset, calm, smile, because for several reasons. Some of them want to avoid conflict. Some of them have been brought up in a way where they have to be pleasing to society all the time, never express emotions, keep it to yourself, you'll be judged. social taboos, all of that stuff. So a lot of people grow up. Many people are people pleasers. They don't want someone to think they're bad. So they only show their good side. They're okay with everything. They're okay with everything. But inside, and there are genuinely calm people, who are just calm. It's their nature. They express, they don't keep emotions in. When you keep emotions in, especially negative emotions, they become deadly to the human body. Medical science has proven this over and over again. Okay, in a beautiful study, there were neuroscientists, neuro doctors would be waiting for their patients with spondylitis, ankylosing spondylitis, okay? And the nurses would be just talking to them, getting their forms filled, and they would write before even the test has happened that this patient is positive, this patient is positive, and they were 100% accurate. So the doctor said, how do you all know? The test is not even done. And they said, okay, because this person who's positive is just too kind. This lady is just too nice. But they said, what do you mean? They said they're over nice. That means they're suppressing anger, they're suppressing emotions, and they were 100% accurate. Now, in my cancer patients over the last years, we have direct commonalities. 95%, most accurately, of our breast cancer patients have deeply suppressed emotional issues. Okay, not like little fights here and there, very ugly divorces, maybe, very highly betrayed, very insecure, very ugly matters like of, the death of a child or in-law issues, or these are real problems. And because they've suppressed those emotions for years, they've not been able to molestation, child molestation, within family molestation, like the fathers molested the daughter, the uncles molested the daughter, and they've grown up warned never to talk about this. And it comes out, we see that commonality in their emotions. Now, I can't say alone the emotion caused the cancer, but here's how it scientifically works. If you are that stressed 24/7, what part of the body gets affected? Your immune system. No one can get cancer unless there's a breakdown in the immune system. So you see how it ties in together. And now because they're so stressed, they can't sleep at night. They're always stressed, so they're sleep deprived. When you're sleep deprived, do you choose to work out? No. Do you choose to eat the right foods? No. It's a vicious cycle. For men, prostate, I'll tell you the emotions: anger, irritability, constantly getting angry and irritable with people and stuff like that. We see that in all of our prostate cancer, liver cancer, deep irritation, held anger, grudges, unforgiveness. These are common. Resentment is one of the biggest negative emotions that we find in mostly, not all cancers, but most of them. And most people have just become so good at handling it that when you ask them the first time, they say, I have no problem, no problem. And then you have to dig deeper because they have coping mechanisms. All the cigarettes, all the drugs, all the excess alcohol is a coping mechanism. So they actually think, they're not lying, they think they don't have a problem, but they do. It's just like pushed under the carpet with devices, the numbing. You see? So emotional, deeply rooted emotions are huge. And then you have people who manifest their cancers. They live in fear all the time. Oh, I don't want to get breast cancer. I don't want to get prostate cancer. Oh no, am I getting this cancer? They live so much in fear that they actually manifest it with their own thought process. And again, it's not their fault. Sometimes they've seen a loved one die of cancer, so they have that fear. And that's why the treatment of cancer has to be so holistic. It's not about just chemo and radiation and surgery. It's their emotional wellness. It's trying to find root causes, their nutrition, their kind of movement, their sleep quality. All of these things play a role. And every warrior we know today, or every cancer survivor, has gone beyond medicine. They've not just done medicine alone. And it cannot work because medicine is symptomatic. It only treats the symptom. In order to heal and recover, you need to address the root cause of the problem, right? And that's where the integrated and holistic approach comes. There's nothing wrong with medicine. There's everything wrong with someone only doing medicine and not making changes in their lifestyle.
So, Luke, you're mentioning that a lot of emotional turmoil actually leads to situations which will result or could result in cancer, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't lead to. If you suppress it,
Yeah.
People who express emotions, it's much healthier to do it. It's answered because it's not creating a problem inside. So I can't say today if you're going through an emotional problem, you're going to get cancer. But I can definitely say if you suppress it, you don't process it, and it's building up, absolutely it can become a deadly disease.
So if that is true, then are there emotions that can be triggered through health, which can help people fight cancer and reverse it?
Absolutely. So I remember a 64-year-old lady who walked in with breast cancer. She was from Punjab and from a farmer's family. And she just broke down and cried when I spoke about emotional health. And for the first time in 60 years of her life, because she got raped by her uncle and then by her father at the age of 4, and she was warned never to speak. At the age 60, she broke down and spoke about that to me. Okay, you should have seen the flood of emotions that came. She already had cancer, 6 months. She was struggling with it, and she came to us with the release in these emotions itself. The next few weeks of hers, she's still living, were fabulous. Even we couldn't believe how overall she needed to express. Everyone, see the energies. There are energies in all of us. So men and women who hold on to sexual energies come out in violence, come out in lust, come out in different ways. Energy has to flow. There cannot be any extremes. Energies have to flow, period. So a woman who has suppressed sexual energy, it affects their reproductive organs. Men who have suppressed sexual energy, it affects their prostate, their testosterone, their brain. So energy has to flow. And it is so important for us to understand that that's why we encourage people, express your emotions. You could be in the worst situation right now. Let's talk about a plane crash or the Malaysian Airlines that was never found. Those family members are still living in such stress. Are my loved ones dead or alive? Right? But the government has had, therapy said, express, talk about it. As long as you keep talking about it, it's okay. But if you don't, your own body is going to kill you at some point. So expression is very, very important.
Yeah. What I'm hearing and the sense that I'm getting is that very beautifully, the body has the ability to heal itself if we give it the right environment, the emotional,
absolutely,
spiritual. We can allow the body to mindfully recover and heal itself, even when the statistics could be on the other side of the day, right?
Absolutely.
What do you have to say about it? I mean,
no, it's absolutely right. See, we have to understand there is no scientist on this planet, there is no doctor on this planet, nutritionist, PhD, who has yet understood completely the intelligence of the human body. There is science, the good science, bad science, half-open science, hypothesis, assumptions, all of that stuff. The simple understanding of the human body. There is an intelligence within us. When that intelligence is compromised, we have disease. When that intelligence is harnessed, your body heals you. Everyone knows that, including medicine knows that the body heals you. The doctors will do the work, but the body will finally heal you. So you can have the best surgery, but if clotting doesn't happen the right way, okay, if your body doesn't know how to increase inflammation and also put off inflammation, the patient dies. So the body heals. Now, what is that environment within you and outside of you that is conducive for the intelligence to work? The intelligence I talk about is the autonomic nervous system. You don't have to remind yourself to breathe, blink your eyes, heart rate. You don't have to, hey, beat right now. No, that is your intelligence. That's the autonomic nervous system. It works depending on the environment you create. Now, if I create a stressful environment, the autonomic nervous system will behave according to that. So the point is there's an internal environment and an external. So if I'm in a toxic relationship or toxic workplace or toxic air, it is 100% impacting my internal environment. If my internal environment is not conducive, I can breed cancer cells, I can begin organ death, I can cause DNA mutation of my cells, all of that. So the point is, like, you can have the best chef in the world who's made the perfect dough to bake the best loaf of bread. Okay, it's perfect. But when he or she puts it in the oven, if the temperature is off by even 1/4 of a degree, the bread will not bake. Environment. Purely environment. So like I said, we're not talking about destiny. And that's why we're so big on when you're going through chemotherapy, surgery, you have to make lifestyle changes. You're being bombarded with toxins, you're being bombarded with radiation. You need to support the body through that in order for the overall environment. So when people come to us, what's our success? We help people create that environment for them. We don't have a magic diet. We don't have magic foods, but with the right sleep, addressing emotions, the right nutrition, knowing the side effects of every chemo, what it's depleting, so we can put it back in the body. All we're doing is trying to create the environment because we trust that the intelligence of the human body will heal the patient. That's it. We have no magic. No one has any magic. That's how it is. So you are absolutely right about the environment. Absolutely right about the environment.
And look, the two things that you mentioned, and I know you and I have interacted several times, and I know that you are a big believer in two things. One is eating right, and second is sleeping right, right? And what is the impact of food and sleep on cancer patients that can help them uh, fight cancer and be a survivor?
The impact is everything. Because see, think about this. Everything we eat and drink is either feeding your cells for great health or destroying them. It's as simple as that. So you can eat that burger if you want, okay? But no, what is it doing to my body? Mindfulness. I can eat junk that's not giving me any nutrients. If my cells don't get nutrients, my immune system is disabled. I need oxygen. So I need exercise. I need movement. I need to create blood circulation. So your diet is fundamental for anything, not just cancer, anything. You put the wrong fuel in a car, the car doesn't work. You put the wrong fuel in your body, the body doesn't work. In fact, your body can start working against you, like in autoimmune conditions. So sleep is everything. Today, Dr. Matt Walker, he's a PhD, he's written a New York bestseller. Okay, and what I love about him, he does all his tests on humans, not on mice and rats, not incomplete science. And he clearly writes, sleep deprivation for more than 2 to 3 days disables your immune system, a part of your immune system called natural killer cells. The job of NK cells is to identify proliferating cells, cancer cells, and kill them. It disables it by 70 to 80%. Just sleep deprivation can set you up for the environment that allows cancer to grow. So sleep is everything. Now you'll have science coming up and saying, oh, this isn't proven. I mean, sleep is built into your mechanism. It's natural. Human beings are the only species who abuse it, right? And we have problems. So it is absolutely important for patients to look at all of these things. Absolutely important.
And look, the environment is, because when you look at a cancer patient, I mean, that's my understanding. It could be biased, could be based on assumptions, that they immediately go into negativity because the moment they hear the word cancer, they see all the negative sides of what can happen, right? So everybody around them tries to help them and create an environment. But the patient themselves believe that now they are sick, it could be terminal, and they start feeling weak, and they could be feeling weak, but the mindset is also that, now everything is going down. I don't have the energy, I can't go and exercise, I don't feel. So what is the role of the caregivers around them to help them boost without being toxic in their positivity that they're trying to spread?
So I think caregivers need a lot more training, a lot more training. I've unfortunately had the privilege to work with patients who have caregivers in different countries and in India. And there's a vast difference where human compassion is required. See, because cancer patients, again, and we need to understand that a lot of patients are in denial. And it's the first thing. You get diagnosed, it's a shock. So you go through denial. Then you go through anger. Then you go through, like depression or fight, like how me, why me, victim mode. Finally, you have to reach acceptance. Until you reach acceptance, nothing can change. Now, from denial to acceptance, you need the right people. You do not need toxic positivity. That's the sad part of the world today, not just with cancer. Everyone's telling everyone to be positive. No, I want my patient to feel sad. I want them to feel anger. I want them to feel that feeling of let down, depression, fear. They need to feel these stages so that they could quickly come to acceptance. Because only when they can reach acceptance does the medication work better and everything else. So that's when you have to coach them through. Now, a terminally ill patient who knows they're going to die eventually, a caregiver's job is very different. Compassion, because you don't know the fears that patients have. We assume. So most of my patients, when they talk about their deepest fears, when they know they want me, where am I going after this? Or like, who's going to look after my children? How will I be remembered? Am I being punished because of the sins that I've committed during my lifetime? They have these questions which cannot be answered with toxic positivity. Compassion. Everyone, they think they're being punished. Okay, they feel guilty. Oh, I did this in my life now. This is my karma. Then everyone starts having their own new definitions of karma, which are highly wrong in the first place. Most people don't understand that karma is it's not like every mistake you made, you're going to be punished. It's with intention. Intention to manipulate, intention to cause harm, evil. That is going to be karma. But otherwise, think about it. We're all teenagers. All of us have done naughty things. Is our karma going to be punishment for all of those things? No. But if we did with intention to cause harm, that is karma. That is karma. So then, you have caregivers who are trained to teach this way, to be there, to just be there for them and not take sides. Just, listen. A lot of palliative patients need to be heard, because they want to talk about their life. They want to talk about things. They just want to learn because they know their time's come. So I think, where hopefully it's my dream to bring a subject of training caregivers on how to manage themselves and their patients at some point. And I do believe I'll do that probably this year or next year. And we'll have this course for caregivers on compassion, because we feel it's very necessary, because you can't fix the patient. So there's no point giving talks. They'll be, come on, it's okay, enjoy. Few days left. They're very callous. But the point is, the patient, you don't know what goes on in their mind. Some of them are like, does my wife feel I've let her down because I'm leaving her now? Some are like, is my wife going to remarry? Is my wife going to have sex with someone else? What's going to happen with my kids? They're not going to have a father. All such relevant, deep questions that can only be managed like with compassion. That's where spirituality comes in, which is why we also encourage our patients to move on to spiritual paths, because a lot of our answers happen with, being exposed to spirituality, introspection, self-work, and all of that stuff, right? So all these things come back into healing and into our last days in life as well.
Look, you mentioned, you spoke about caregivers and the responsibility that the caregivers have in not only creating an environment, but also to address the real issues and with care and with training. But, sometimes the caregivers are on the receiving end. For example, the caregiver is a parent whose child is dealing with cancer. And
Yes.
how do you think, who's more important to manage, and what are the fears that the caregivers deal with?
Absolutely. The caregivers in our country are mostly family members, and I advise them to go through coaching, go through therapy. In the US, it works beautifully. The moment you finish a diagnosis, there is a department where they teach you how to handle this, how to accept the news, how to break the news, how to do all of that. It's very, very necessary, because it's new for everyone. So then most people start to act out of emotion, right? And I've seen families torn apart, completely torn apart. I've seen relationships break up because one caregiver who's a partner obviously is emotionally bound to look after that parent or someone else, and they don't know how to manage it. So then be open to taking help. It's not like you need medication, but you need to speak to someone about what you're feeling. And you have to do that, because no one gets trained to do that, right? None of us ever get trained to do this. You can't listen to an inspirational talk because no one's gone through that journey that you're going through. So take help at that point. It's very, very important to take help at that point.
And look, before I let you go, my one question that is very, very important, and the crux of why I'm doing this is, in your experience, your observation, I know you've spoken about hope, but the one thing that you found common among every cancer survivor that you believe, or the one thing that you believe is the thing that helped them survive?
Purpose, purpose and hope. That's it. Purpose and hope. That's it. These are two powerful words, and anyone lost in life, not just cancer, if you find purpose and you couple it with hope, you can move forward. If not, you're going to be stuck.
Is there something that people around the patient can do to help the patient find their purpose and then be in hope?
That becomes preachy again, because most people will say, oh, you should do this, you like doing this, and then the patient just gets overwhelmed. I think the two words I like to use is holding space. In India, people need to learn how to hold space for other people. Don't just try to be useful to them and say everything will be okay, don't worry, this, that, whatever. Holding space could be silence, like, hey, I'm there for you. That's it. Sometimes that's all the patient needs. I'm there for you. If you need anything, I'm there for you. No extra words, no sympathy, no pity, not required. Empathy, yes, but no extra words. Oh, I know this top doctor, I'll call him, I'll do this, because everyone wants to do something to feel part of the thing. But understand, it's overwhelming the patient. The patient will ask if they need, And sometimes they do ask, they say, I can't, I'm still in shock. Just help me. I don't know what to do. But the point is, it is so important for us to understand that purpose. Through the journey, most people find their purpose alone. While they're sitting, getting their chemo done, spending hours in hospitals, at home because they can't work, because they're going through treatment, they find their purpose. We shouldn't make finding a purpose a very difficult thing to do because most people don't understand what purpose is. The other day, I had a consult with a lady and a housewife, and I asked her, "What's your purpose?" She's saying, "Being a housewife." I said, "What do you mean?" She's saying, "I love cooking for my husband. I love cooking for my children. I love to see their smile. I like keeping the home clean." And I was like, that's her purpose. What's wrong with that purpose? It doesn't have to be, I want to be the CEO. I need to have a boutique shop. I need to do this. I need to fight for women's rights, men's rights, all of that. No, it's a purpose and she's happy. That's a purpose. That is a purpose. But social media with the purpose of, oh, you need to be a millionaire, billionaire. You need to do this. Your company should be valued. All of that. No, that's not purpose. That's greed. Your purpose could be as simple as, I'm going to be the best at my job. My purpose for today is take care of my health. It could be as simple as that. So it doesn't have to be some life-changing spiritual purpose. I want to change the world. I want to do this and all of those big talks that people give. It could be as simple as my purpose is to get through this journey and help other people. Or, get back my health. That's a purpose itself. Get through this chemotherapy. That's a purpose itself. So I think we need to change our perception of the meaning of purpose as well.
Got it. Luke, is there anything that you wish to share, which we should be carrying in this book, other than the questions that I've already asked you?
I think as a people have to start having a mind of their own and a heart of their own. Most people are programmed like puppets. The ideals of society, the ideals of science and stuff like that, it limits them. I'm not saying science is bad, but if you're hiding behind it, making science make every decision for you in your life and overlooking wisdom, overlooking gut instincts and stuff like that, you're failing at every level. Part of the world, we have to awake to the truth that the only way powerful governments and countries and corporates can control you is by programming the way you think. And that's happening all around. Look at it. No one has a mind of their own to say, hey, this is common sense. Okay, I'm sick. How can I eat sugar? My doctor, my oncologist told me, eat as much of sugar as you want. It's common sense to know that you wouldn't feed your healthy body sugar. Why will you feed your sick body sugar? But there's the lack of common sense because people have put the wrong people on pedestals. No one has to be on a pedestal ever. So it's the people break away from, the ideals of society that are so limiting to human development, healthcare development in your own personal life, and start using your own mind, information, knowledge, put it together. Does this make sense? Do it. Don't hand your brain and your heart out to influencers and people that say, a lot of humans are afraid to make decisions because they're afraid of rejection and failure. So they're happy to outsource decisions to other people, right? And mostly other people don't know what's right for you. You know what's right for you. So my message to people is break away from these shackles that society has put most people in and understand that most warriors have done that. They chose not to believe the path which is most taken. They chose not to believe that. If they believed that path, they would be like one of every other patient that dies. But they chose to look differently. They didn't condemn chemotherapy. They didn't condemn anything. They just chose to use their own common sense, logic, and make their own path. And that is what is important for all of us.
With this last few words, I think I've got my answer to what I was looking for from you.
Okay,
that's beautiful. And, I can only say thank you for choosing to contribute towards this book through your knowledge. I'm in gratitude towards you.
It's an absolute pleasure. I think once your book is ready, please keep this recording. Yeah, we would
Yes.
love to keep this recording.